Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to have you all here joining us today for our special ADAR gathering. We normally meet for Rosh Chodesh, but this time we're meeting on the 7th of ADAR, which is a very special day of the month. It's the yard site of Moshe Rabbeinu, and it's also the yard site of Queen Esther. So it's a very spiritually connecting day to connect to the energy of Purim and also Geula and spiritual leadership. So we're going to talk a lot about those themes today. But before we get started, I want to dedicate this class for the healing of Jacqueline Bat Alia, and also for the healing of Miriam Bat Rachel, Shoshana Bat Rachel, Shmuley Ben Miriam, and everyone that needs a full refuah shalema. You could have them in mind. And for Zivug Tov and Hagun for Imbal Bat Jacqueline, and Piriar Via for Bat Chen Bat Jacqueline, and for Parnasa and Shalom Bait for Sharon Moshe Ben Jacqueline, and for Bracha and Hasacha for Aaron Meir Ben Miriam, and for my beautiful children.
Disfrútenlo.
So today we're going to talk about the unique energy of the month of Adar. And as we know, Adar is considered a time of Simcha. And what we learn from our sages is Mishenichnas Adar Malbim B'Simcha, that when Adar starts, we experience an increase in Simcha. So the question is, the Bnei Sachar, which is a very famous Hasidic tzaddik, asks, why does the Gemara not say, be joyful in Adar, just to be joyful? Why does it say increase in joy? How are we supposed to increase in joy? So in his book, which I highly recommend for any of those that want to learn deep Hasidic teachings on the months of the Jewish year, of Bnei Sachar, he says, Ki b'chodesh hazeh mitgale shoresh harachamim hanistarim betoch ha'ester. On this special month, we see a revelation of the root of mercy and compassion that is hidden within hiddenness. What does that mean? V'alken ena simcha mitzad teva. So the joy that we're accessing during this month is above teva, is above nature. Rak mitzad ha'emunah be'anhagat ha'ne'elemet. It is only a joy that we can access through having emunah in the hidden hanhaga, or it's another way of saying hashgacha, like the way that Hashem orchestrates the world. And that's why we have to increase in joy. In order to activate the compassion and mercy from the hidden to the revealed. So let's unpack this a little bit. So what he's saying is that this month, the reason why it's a month of joy, because you could say, why can't every month be a month of joy? Why Dafka this month? What makes this month a month of joy? And what kind of a joy are we talking about? So he's saying that it's about revealing the hidden mercy that is embedded in concealment, meaning that it's when we go through life and we recognize that we don't see it, but it's there. Hashem has a plan, even if we don't understand what that plan is. And really understanding that everything that Hashem does for us comes from a place of chesed and rachamim, from compassion and mercy. So before we go to the next teaching, I want to ask this group, we're already 7 days into Adar. Have you yet experienced in the last week of this special month a shift? Have you noticed more rachamim, more chesed, more simcha in your life this month than you have in previous weeks and months? Has anyone noticed a shift?
Hi. Um, is it okay if I speak?
Yes, of course. Go ahead. What's your name?
Hi. My name is Javed Grossness. Um, Thank you for doing this. I missed a different group that I wanted to start at the beginning of the month, but thank you for this.
Of course.
Um, Definitely have been more focused and had more energy to do the things that I want to do, and I enjoy doing, and it brings me so much joy to do those things. So yeah, um, I've definitely felt a shift. I can put it on a few things, but really it's all God, obviously. Um, yeah, thank you.
Amazing. That's nice to hear. That's very nice to hear. Thank you, Meryl. Anyone else like to share?
I'll share quickly here. I think for me, it's more like in the consciousness level. It's like less circumstantial. That's how I relate to most of the months is like a little bit less circumstantially and more just like where my consciousness is at. I do feel like it's like a lighter energy and the things that like I've been churning for like weeks and months during the winter. Now it feels like okay, like some of the weight has been lifted and there's like a bit more integration. So in that regard, I do feel it, but it's more internal. Yeah.
That's amazing. Anyone else? For me personally, I definitely felt a major gift during the beginning of this month where I had an experience that was very clarifying and powerful and and it made me feel very clear and guided in my path. So that gave me a lot of joy. I think when we get clarity, clarity brings us a lot of joy. And it was also an experience that was very heartfelt versus something that I acquired through my mind. It was very much connected to my heart energy. And that I felt was very, very special and connecting. Okay. There's this really powerful concept in Hasidus that I love because it's such a easy concept to remember and it's very, very impactful in my life. It's the concept of Simcha, Pורץ, Gedel, that joy has the power to transcend limits. Pórec means to
Spread.
break through. Gedel means boundaries. That joy has the ability and the power to break through boundaries. Simcha, Pórec, Gedel.
שמחה פורץ גדר.
Yes. The Nativot Shalom, which some of you might know is like my all-time favorite Hasidic teacher, teaches on Purim that Hasimcha hi koach haporetz kol hagdarim. Simcha, joy, has the power to break through all boundaries. Kshiyehudi samech be'emet, when a Jew is truly happy, אין מציאות של הסתר שיכולה לעמוד בפניו. There is no hidden reality that can stand in his way, meaning there's nothing that can get in the way of a person who has simcha, that simcha can overcome all blocks that we might have. Now, you could ask, this is like really incredible. And Rabbi Nachman says, mitzvah gdola liot besimcha tamid. It's a huge mitzvah to always be besimcha, always be living life from a place of joy. So what we're learning here is that simcha is like spiritually disruptive. It's a force, it's a power. It's not just a feeling. It's an activating force. And so I want to ask you, have you ever had this experience where You might have been challenged by something, but by tapping into the feeling of simcha, you were able to overcome this challenge knowing that you're able to tap into something beyond what's just in front of you right now. Has anyone ever used simcha as a tool to overcome challenges? I guess not.
I would I would say that to me, simcha is deeply connected to gratitude.
Okay.
For me, that was my biggest life shift. When I shifted, even in the face of something that was really ostensibly horrific that had happened to my family,
Mm-hmm.
I started being grateful. It wasn't simcha right away, but the process of gratitude led me into simcha, and that has shifted my life
Mm.
over and over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
So
I
is
just
that,
want to,
sorry, go ahead. First of all, is your name Tira Liba?
Yes.
Thank you for joining. I've seen you in our group chats, so it's nice to put a face to the name. Thank you for
I'm
joining.
glad. I'm glad I could join. I was just waiting for my husband for something, and it popped up. I didn't even know how it popped up, and I was like, "Okay, I need some ADAR energy."
Amazing.
So, thank you for doing this.
Thanks.
I hope I can stay on. He's going to come back, but it sounds very nice. But literally, it is. It is. You know what I learned? Maybe you know the core of it, but I learned this so many years ago, and I don't know where it was from bungalow colony kind of publication, and it was very life altering. It said that that's um what is it? What's the pasuk?
You can paraphrase
Hashem,
it.
no, serve Hashem with joy. I don't know why the Hebrew
Ivdu et
just
Hashem
yes,
b'simcha.
Hashem b'simcha. So it says it's not a tosefet, it's not an extra, it's an ikr of the way to do a mitzvah. So it said that when this particular teaching was that when a person does a mitzvah b'simcha, but if it does just a mitzvah, you get the reward, the schar, but just your daled amos. But when you do it b'simcha, your neshama like opens and is able to share in the schar of all of Klal Yisrael, because no one Jew can do all mitzvahs, right? We have men, women, Koranim. I mean, but the simcha is the thing that literally opens and connects neshamas. If you know where that's from, I would love it, because to me that was a very big, very, very powerful thing to learn.
Well, first of all, thank you for bringing that up because I love that teaching. Um, I think, Kay, I see your hand. I'm gonna call on you next. Um, so a couple of things in response to what you just said, Tira Liba. So, um, one second. Okay, so first of all, it's to do with the fact that the Jewish people are a collective soul. That whenever we do a
Right.
mitzvah, we're interconnected and it impacts everyone else. Kol Yisrael Arevim zeh lezeh. But that particular thing is regarding simcha, I don't know the source for that. But what I do find interesting that I've learned from many of my teachers is they say that like the heart energy, the emotions are like the engines that really activate a mitzvah. That it's not just enough to do a mitzvah, even if you follow it all the way through and you do everything right, but the heart has to be involved. It has to be connected. And I think that that's going to be one of the main takeaways for today's class is that Hashem wants our heart. This month, the month of Adar, is the last month in the Jewish calendar. A lot of times there's a parallel drawn between Elul and Adar because as we know in the Chumash, we learned that the first month, HaChodesh Hazeh HaChodesh Hu Lachem, the first month that we learned about in the Torah was the month of Nisan. Nisan is Chodesh Rishon, it's the first month. So next month, the Chodesh Nisan, the month of Pesach, is going to be the new year. It's a blank page, and it also coincides with the astrological system, where Aries is the first sign in the zodiac. So really, Adar is connected to the collection and the energy of the entire year. This is really Elul right now. This is really like a time that is supposed to summarize everything we've experienced up until this point of the year. So the energy of Adar is the energy of Pisces. So you could say, oh, but I'm not a Pisces. So how does this relate it to me? But when you're every time if somebody has their mic on, please mute it. Hold on. When we are in a month, the energy of that month impacts all of us. So the month of Adar is connected to the energy of emotions. Dagim, it's the month of the two fish, right? Going in opposite directions. And fish represents hiddenness, being in the water. It represents blessing. It represents fertility. It represents abundance. And it's really a symbolic image that's supposed to teach us that there's blessing in things that are hidden. And it's also supposed to teach us that that water, which represents emotions and feelings, is a big part of the way that we serve Hashem. That's why the whole emphasis and the theme of this month is the theme of Simcha, the theme of feeling, of energy, of emotion. Like you need to tap into that, the heart center. This is the time to tap into the heart center in preparation for the new year, which is yes, I do. I'm going to share that. So the meta of this month is correct laughter, right? This is the month when we're supposed to be joyful, we're supposed to laugh, we're supposed to be together with and celebrating and really being besimcha. And it's also connected um to um to Pisces, like I was saying, Pisces is all about like intuition, psychic abilities, it having like a very deep inner world. It's about tapping into our inner, the inner aspect of who we are and really listening to our neshama and really developing our intuitive abilities. That's a big part of what this month is about. Before we continue, I wanted to just, Kay, did you want to share? Okay, I think she's on a call. Okay, we'll come back to you, Kay. All right, so let's continue. Okay, so as I was saying earlier about the fish being hidden in the water. Sorry, Kay, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah. Back to the question that you had. Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself.
Okay.
But I agree with back to your question about like happiness. I agree with Chisrael Liba. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. But everything like begins with gratitude, because when you have gratitude, then you start becoming more happy. But also at the same point, it's kind of like, I hate to compare it to like a virus, but like when you enter a room and you're already like happy, like everyone can feel the energy. I don't know how it feels, but people respond to it, and it's just great because it just like shifts everything.
Yeah.
Can I just share a quick personal story?
Sure. First of all, hi. It's good to see you.
Hi,
It's been
good
a
to see
while.
you too. It's good to see you too. So I had a period in my life where it was like poor me, and I came across this phrase on Facebook. It was a meme, and it said, there's only one person that can change your life. And I was like ready to get my phone to call that person, you know? And then I read the second line and it's you. And I was like, oh no. And then I was like, how is that possible? And then I had to take a picture with a group, and it was like doing some business thing. And I looked at my face, and it was such a long face because at that time in my life, I had such resentment because it's not fair and whatever. And I said, okay, maybe I need to like practice this attitude of gratitude thing. And instead of me having the things to make me be happy, maybe I just need to be happy. And then I'll do things that make me happy. And then oddly enough, then I started experiencing more happiness. But then I was just like going through life like pretty carefree and like I was meeting happy people, and people were doing nice things for me. So it just comes full circle back to gratitude, happiness. If you be it, then you experience it, and that's it. Like, you don't have to have tangible things to be what you want to experience. You just be it, and then you do it, and then things just happen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And also, I know your field is psychology, and we know that there's that very famous study about happiness where they studied people over like 75 years or something. And they discovered that, hold on one second. They discovered that true happiness comes when you have community, when you have close friendships, close relationships, when you have,
Yeah.
it's really from people, the people that you have in your life, and maintaining those relationships over extended periods of time is what really develops true happiness and longevity, right? And people live longer when
Yeah,
they're
they said, according to like the statistics on happiness and positive psychology, 10% of it is the things that you have. 50% of it is your genetics, 40% is your intentional activity. So your sense of community, doing things that bring joy, all of that is your 40%. So like you are, as an individual, responsible, and you contribute to your happiness.
exactly. And thank you, Kay. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that.
Can you mute
Um,
me? Because I don't know how to do it.
yeah, yeah, no
It
problem.
takes forever for me to slide, and then I lose everybody because I'm on
No
my
problem.
phone doing it.
Hey, Regina, I see you. One sec. Um, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, Kay, that that's why we have so many mitzvot in Purim that activate happiness, right? Like our giving gifts of mishloach manot to our friends, giving to others. That's symbolic for that's true happiness. When we give, that's when we're happy. Having the Purim Seuda, eating with our friends or our community, listening to the Megillah together, and just like doing these things with others that bring us joy, and having parties, all these things contribute to happiness. And what I love is that these mitzvot, when we do them obviously because that's what you're supposed to do on the Chag, but that they're really clues, and they're there symbolically to show us how to be happy the whole year. That true happiness comes from giving, from being part of a community, from sharing, from being with others, from the whole thing, the whole concept of wearing masks is to show that like our true essence is what matters, and that we all put on masks, and that the masks that we put on don't really represent who we truly are. It's just a role that we play in this lifetime in order to do our tikkun, in order to fulfill whatever lesson we're here to learn, but that our true essence is so much greater than the roles that we play and the masks that we put on, right? Regina?
I'm just sitting over here like preach, I love it. I like totally channeling. I love it. Yeah, just a thought. I was thinking, I think you probably also follow Arthur Brooks. He's a big author. He's been writing a lot on happiness. And a lot of these like personal development people talk about how like the pursuit of happiness is not necessarily conducive towards happiness, which is like very interesting. It's been found in our culture. Um, and so like when I think of Simcha, especially because like the Hasidim, especially like the Breslauer Hasidim, it's like such a big thing and it's such a big deal. I'm like, what is all the like what's the hype? Why is it so essential? So I actually I'm trying in myself to look at it outside of like an emotion, or like a state that you have, but more like an orientation. Um, because like when something I read this morning, which I thought was so real and so deep, that like when we, in a sense, like moralize or we scale different emotions, as good emotions or bad emotions, it actually creates like split in our psyche, and we can't experience all of our experience with wholeness, because we're like constantly assessing our own experience, which might be why if we're pursuing happiness, it kind of seems to evade us. So for me, I'm just curious your thoughts, and just please continue with the class. Maybe it's connected. as I'm thinking through it during our class, I think of it more as like an orientation that like actually no matter what experience I'm having, I'm taking it in the simcha. Like I know that this is what Hashem wants, and like this is what's needed in this moment, even if I'm like in a very I call it like I don't necessarily moralize my feelings, but I think, okay, I'm in a constricted mindset right now. I'm in a constricted headspace right now. I can't see very far, which is why simcha or joy expands the vision of possibility, right? But whatever I'm experiencing right now is what is meant to be. So it's almost like simcha is then like an orientation of like feeling shalem, you know? It's so I could be sad and besimcha. I could be having a hard time and be besimcha. I could be blissed out and be besimcha. You know, it's more of like an orientation. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
That is so gorgeous. I love that. Thank you for sharing that and bringing that forward. In the unique way that only you can. And that's a really good segue into the next section of the class, which is all about divine orchestration that's like hidden. You know, the Tivot Shalom says, Kol inyan Megillat Esther hu lelamed שהקדוש ברוך הוא נמצא גם בתוך האסתר. The whole inyan, the whole point of the Megillah of Esther is to teach us that Hashem is present even when it seems like he's not present. Obviously, he's referring to the fact that Hashem's name is never mentioned in the Megillah, and there's no reference to Hashem in the Megillah, or at least in a revealed way. But it's showing you that Hashem is present even when it's not necessarily revealed. And so that's a broader theme besides in the story of Purim that is saying that Af kshe'en ro'im gilui shechina, even when we can't see Hashem's presence, Hanhagato kayemet bechol pat, Hashem's guidance exists in every detail. And the Sfat Emet says, Be'emet lo haya shinui b'hanaga. There really is nothing's changed in the way that Hashem guides the world. Only the revelation of what was hidden is what's changed. That's the whole purpose of Purim. To show you the revelation of what's hidden within nature. Meaning that nothing's really changed in the way that Hashem conducts himself with the world, but that it's really that now Purim is showing us this is how we see Hashem. And it's really important that this to say that the Megillah of Esther was the last of the books that was written in the Tanakh. It's the last one. After that, there are no other new additions to the Tanakh. So it's really sort of symbolic of like the cutoff point of prophecy, miracles, all that way of Hashem interacting, and it's sort of like a letter or a message for us for the time that we're going to be in Galus in exile, because the Megillah of Esther already happened while we were in exile, to teach us that okay, you might not see major miracles like in the Tanakh, and Hashem might not be revealed beyond nature like in the Tanakh, but Hashem is still there. And that's the message of the Megillah that we're supposed to carry with us post that era of time. So it's really that is teaching us that miracles are not interruptions of nature, but that it's an unveiling of something that's always been there. Okay. Before we continue with that, I want to ask you, how do you relate to Hashem when you're not able to see the hidden guidance, when it's not so easy to recognize that Hashem has the master plan? You can't connect the dots. You're like, I don't understand why this is happening and that's happening, and like this doesn't make sense, and why is it like this? Why couldn't it be like this? And like you can't make sense of things, right? So how does that impact the way that you relate to Hashem? and the way that you experience this hidden guidance. Okay, so I'll tell you, thank you, Eliza, for that. You always know how to make me laugh. Um, okay, so I'll tell you what I'm in this space right
Hi.
now. Does someone want to share?
Yeah, it's Trevor Krasnos again. It's Meryl. Um, I really thinking about your question. I felt that my relationship is very much personal between me and him. And then if I'm going through a really hard time and I can't see him, I'll verbally say how much I hate him and how much he's not there for me. And I find that therapeutic. And then when I'm good and ready, then I can come back and like slowly rebuild it. I found that helpful recently. I don't know if it's right, wrong, but that's how it works for me. Um, yeah.
Thank you. I love that. I was sharing that for me, I'm going through this now where um it's hard to make sense of like a lot of things that are happening. Um, so I do two things. Firstly, I allow myself to feel what I'm feeling, like the frustration, just whatever it's that's coming up for me. I allow myself to feel it, just like what Regina was saying before, right? You can have Emunah and Hashem and believe that everything has a plan and everything is for the good and still be frustrated that you don't really see it so clearly. I think that it's important to feel that, right? Um, but I feel like Emunah is very much like a copy paste situation because I've had so many experiences where I wasn't, it's not like life just started today. Like you have to look back on your life and think of so many experiences and so many moments where you're like, "Oh, at the time that was horrible, but now I'm like so grateful that that happened because dot 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 dot, right?" So you can always reflect on your past life experiences and say, I know that this is for the good. I can remember many experiences where I didn't have the clarity and I didn't have the full picture. And then I knew that in the end, it worked out really well. And I have to just trust that that's what's going on here now, right? That's what Bitachon and Emunah is about. I'm really trying not to like oversimplify it, but that's really what it is. If trusting in Hashem means that when you're going through really hard times to accept the hard just as much as you accept the good and to know that both you can carry the opposites and know that everything is for the good, right? That's like the whole concept of enod milvado, like everything is good, even the things that we don't experience is good. If we experience things that are painful and challenging and hard, and to just know it's for the good. I know that it's for the good, and that's what this energy of this month is about, is the energy of rachamim and chesed, and knowing that everything is coming from goodness. Aliza, go ahead.
Never mind. It's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So there's another concept in this special month of Vanafochu. Oh, Regina, go ahead.
Just very quickly, one of the ways I think that like we like the Yetzer Hara sometimes gets us, or we kind of like ourselves build this sense of like false security in life based on different things, whether it's finances or image or I don't know. Take any pick of like ways that people fall into illusions of security, and actually like we're very like fragile in a sense beings that are being kind of created and generated moment to moment. So I think like just to answer your question, I was thinking what is I think probably a recent a new thing with in dealing with you had mentioned in those moments of not knowing and not having clarity is actually falling in love with uncertainty. I know it sounds a little counterintuitive because it doesn't feel good to feel like ungrounded and insecure. But I think when we develop a way to really deal with uncertainty in a really healthy way, and real like healthy, happy, embracing way, I think it can give us like real security. Like that, I think that's a real strength. And then we have a lot more patience to see like God's plan. Because I think that I feel like in those moments when I'm really stuck, I just feel really impatient. And Hashem is like working with a completely different timeline than I am, and that's why we often do see things in hindsight. So I think that it's just the grappling with that sense of uncertainty,
Yeah.
and falling in love with it. That's it.
I hear what you're saying, Regina, and I think that's a very spiritually developed approach. But I would say that the energy of Adar is the complete opposite of that. Because uncertainty is Suffolk. Hi, Lisha. Uncertainty is Suffolk, and Suffolk is doubt. And Amalek is the same gematria as Suffolk. So doubt is our enemy. And certainty is what we need to bring forward. So I see it as like partnership with Hashem. Kaylee and Elise, I see you guys, and I'm calling on you in a minute. I just want to address this because I feel very strongly about this, that we have to have certainty, because that certainty is what activates reality. I'm not comfortable at all with uncertainty. I personally find it like I can't I can't. But I think that one of the reasons I really connect to this month, besides the fact that it's my birthday month, is that it's really about the role of belief, that when you believe in something and you not only think of it, but you actually feel it and you know it with certainty, that's how things change in life. And that's how things start to turn around. And that's how you're able to break through a lot of challenges with that certainty and that clarity. Okay. Eliza, go next.
Sorry, I did want to say something before, but my husband and my son both walked in the room as I was in pass. I said, let me just go upstairs and close the door.
Okay.
I was going to say, I don't love the answer I'm going to give, and you'll probably say the same thing about my thing that you just said about Regina's thing. And I don't even like the answer myself, but I'm just like a thought is that I guess what I've heard before, which I don't know even if I agree. I don't think I agree with it, but I'll just say it and you can tell me what you think. Is that sometimes we're being like punished in this world so that we're not being punished in the next world. I don't really think I love that answer.
I hate that answer.
It's helped me get through some things. So
it's so interesting you're bringing that up, because I actually recently came across that in Nativo Chelem, my favorite Hasidic author, literally said the same thing.
Really?
And he was talking about tzaddikim and how you would think that a tzaddik, the more of a tzaddik and the more accomplished he is spiritually, that he would have less challenges and less suffering and less pain. But the Yetzer Hara for a tzaddik is even stronger than it is for someone not as accomplished spiritually.
Right.
And it talks about the whole concept of suffering for the sake of earning. I know that that's part of our tradition. I don't really resonate with it.
Yeah, I don't really either. But I also just feel like sometimes it's like it's almost obvious that something is correlated to something else, if you know what I mean. It's hard to explain without being too personal. I know this is public, but
Yes.
we can talk offline.
Yes. Okay, well, I appreciate your sharing.
Thank
It's
you.
definitely a very core value in our tradition, for sure. Kaylee, go ahead.
Hi, can I be heard?
Yes.
Cool, thank you. Um, so a bunch of stuff is coming up for me. I'm gonna try to keep it as brief as I can. Um, yeah, I guess the first thing that was coming up for me is something I've heard, like a quote that like rejection is God's protection. And to me, that kind of means like Hashem's kind of like guiding me on the path. And like if I'm hitting into a roadblock, like that doesn't mean I should push harder into it. It means that like Hashem's saying like that's not the way. Please like turn the other way. And it kind of reminded me of like the Megillah of kind of like there's this whole story like Hashem's name's not in it, and it's kind of like going through it like reading it through. It's like what is going on here? And there's like feels like so much lack of clarity and like all these horrific situations, and just like knowing that kind of getting through it and getting through the end and like you know it unfolds and like in the moment like I'm imagining being in some of those situations and it's like where is Hashem here, like this is like terrible, and just kind of knowing like what actually happens in the ending and that like Hashem can't necessarily be seen like clearly, but kind of knowing, like looking at the story, kind of knowing like, oh, he was actually there all along. He was guiding the whole entire thing, even if it didn't feel like it. And so I guess that like kind of like I heard like that pain, like it's okay to feel the pain, and also like I guess to me like the not knowing. I guess there's two different things that were coming up around that, like the right. I don't need to know the end of the story, and I can trust that there's someone in charge and it's not me. And I guess for me, like the suffix, the doubt is about like the core beliefs, like doubting myself, doubting my, spirituality, doubting that Hashem is there. But I guess for me, like the not needing to know the end of the story while I'm in the story, I guess, um, yeah, for me, that's just coming up and kind of like the surrendering to Hashem and His will, and like knowing that He's there, but not needing to know the end when I'm in it. That's all. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Kaylee. I think it's important to ground a lot of these ideas within the storyline of the Megillah because, like you were saying, Kaylee, about like not knowing what the ending will be, um, it's sort of like when Mordecai comes to Esther and asks her to step up and speak to the king so that he can cancel the decree. And she was like super scared to do that. And Mordecai said to her, "Who knows if you came to power only for this moment?" And and he said, "If it's not going to be you, it'll be somebody else." So I think that call to action, I think, is everyone's call to action really in life, where we all have an active role to play, and we can either um, step up when the opportunity comes for us to play an active role in changing how the course of our lives, or we can just say surrender and say whatever will be will be. Um, and I think that that's what Esther did. She stepped up to the plate. That opportunity was very scary for her, but she stepped up to the plate and then she just surrendered and she said whatever will be will be. So I think it's both, right? It's that well, there's only so much we can do. We're not in control. Hashem is in control. But I also believe very strongly that we are in partnership with Hashem and that there are certain circumstances that come forward in our lives because Hashem wants us to either change internally or do something externally. There's some sort of action that needs to happen, and that Hashem motivates us to action through these circumstances. And I think that that, to me, is one of the biggest themes of the story of Purim, is that, like, I think of it in modern times, how like there's so much anti-Semitism, there's so much hate around Israel, and Hashem should protect the Jewish people. And it's like almost like too big. You're like, what could I possibly do to shift that? Like, what could I possibly do as one person? But if the opportunity comes and there is something I can do, I'll do it, you know? So I think that that's like a very loud message for me personally when I learned the Megillah. Okay, let's continue. So a core theme of this month that we learned from the Megillah story is the concept of v'nahafochum, about spiritual, like a reversal as a spiritual principle. So we learn from the Bnei Sachar on the Megillah, he says, Haschok hu hitapchut hadin la'achamim, that laughter comes when we see the reversal of judgment to mercy. Ki kasher nirah davar kasher v'nehepach letova, when you see something hard and it's flipped, it's reversed to something good, az ba'aschok, that's when we have laughter, that's when we have joy. V'zeu sod chodesh Adar, that is the secret of this month of Adar. Asher nehepach lehem me'agon l'simcha, where their luck or their mazel or their, you know, the course of history went from judgment to mercy. So really, what they're trying to teach us is, and this is for all of the Jewish holidays and all the Jewish calendar, we're not celebrating something that happened in the past. What happened in the past is there to teach us that this is a cyclical pattern that repeats itself every year, and this is the energy that we're in right now. That in the month of Adar, this is the time when we could flip from judgment to mercy. This is a time when we could bring joy into our lives by reversing the energy that exists in the world. So the question is, how do we do that? How do we do that? How do we flip from judgment to mercy? So we know already that what we need to do is Matanot La'Evyonim, Mishloach Manot, the fast of Esther, reading the Megillah, dressing up in costumes, all of those spiritual practices that we have as a Jewish people during Adar are all there to help us flip the switch from judgment to mercy. All those things do that. But I'm going to give you more concepts that Chassidus and Kabbalah teach us about how we can activate the mercy and the joy that could come in this time of year. So there's this concept of Ayin Hara that we have protection from on this month. Ayin Hara means that when you expose yourself to judgment by others, that could chas v'shalom cause harm to a person's life. And so the mazal of Adar is the mazal of fish, the dagim. And you'll see that a lot of people who believe in the concept of Ayin Hara will have either jewelry of fish or symbols of fish in their home or pictures of fish, because it's really symbolic to represent protection from the evil eye and concealment, and that you want to protect your blessings. Just like when a baby is hidden in the mother's womb for 10 months, that's supposed to be how we're supposed to protect ourselves from negativity, is to like keep things in the womb for as long as possible. So the Bnei Sachar says, Hadagim mechusim b'mayim, ve'en ayin hara sholatet b'hem. Just like fish are covered with water, ayin hara can't rule them. Ken b'chodesh Adar, the same thing in the month of Adar. Habracha ba min ha'estel, the blessing comes from the hiddenness. Lemala min ha'ayin, which is beyond the control of negative eyes. So, as we were saying before, we have all these spiritual practices during the month of Adar, but really, truly, the main essence of this month is about using our Emunah to go above mazal, right? To go above destiny, so that we can change the course of our lives through Emunah. היפיל הפור הוא הגורל מצד המזל והטבע. So when you're talking about, this is from Nei Sachar, when we're talking about the astrological decrees, which is, that's what mazal is. Mazal means something that's like predetermined, right? So there he's talking about Haman, how Haman knew astrology, and he decided the whole thing with the decree against the Jewish people based on understanding the energy of astrology and all this stuff. So he did the Hipila Goal מצד המזל והטבע. That's from the side of Teva, nature and mazal. ויראה הקדוש ברוך הוא, Hashem showed him, כי ישראל אינם תחת המזל כלל. The Jewish people are not under the rule of mazalot. וכשמתעורר כוח אמונה, and when the power of Emunah is activated, it's stimulated, it's brought forward, מתבטלים כל הגזרות. All of the negative judgments are canceled. So what we're seeing here is that the energy of Adar is about really canceling like predeterminism, right? That when you tap into Emunah and Simcha, you're free from the way that this is just how it is. This is how the world runs. This is what happens. This is not how things work for the Jewish people. And Mazal Israel, the Jewish people are able to transcend fate. We have that ability. But in order to have that power, we have to tap into our Emunah, the Koach HaEmunah, and the Koach of Tefillah and Torah and Mitzvot. All living a Torah way of life helps you go above the mazalot. Now, how do we know that? Does anyone know where in the Torah we learn this concept that Bnei Israel are above, the Jewish people are above, what do you call it? Are above the mazal? Where did we learn that?
Avram Avinu, no?
Correct. Tell us more.
When Hashem took him outside and showed him the heavens, and he said, "Look above. You know, you're a beyond." I don't remember the exact pasuk, but that's what I learned as the main Rishon.
Yeah, because in the mazalot, he according to his mazal, he wasn't supposed to have children. And Hashem showed him that he can't have children, that he's above mazalot. That's why he said to him, "Go outside."
Oh, that's all right.
What he meant by go outside and look at the stars is he meant to show him, like, yes, you know astrology, yes, astrology shows you that you're not meant to have children, but I'm going to show you that you can go out above that. You can transcend that. And we all have that. As the Jewish people, we all have that.
That's true. I want to say something amazing. I worked with a Hasidic girl when I'm a speech therapist. I used to work with Yale. There was a young woman that knew she couldn't have children. She wasn't getting married. She was the service coordinator. Finally, when she was like close to 30, there was a man who had a family, and his wife had passed, and he had to leave in a baby, and they made the shidduch, and she got married, and she raised all his kids. He had like a whole bunch of kids. I just heard last year that she married off, or she was about to marry off his youngest, and she had a uterine transplant, and she just had a baby boy. So yes, it's still happening.
Incredible.
Not incredible.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Wow. I love that. Let's talk about Esther now. Now, we know that Esther, her original Hebrew name was Hadassah, but later on she was called Esther. Now, Esther comes from the Hebrew word Hestel, which means hiddenness. The Sfat Emet says, Ikar inyan Esther hu Hestel. The main concept of the Megillah of Esther is the hiddenness. שהשם יתברך מתגלה דווקא בתוך האסתר, that Hashem דווקא purposefully is revealed through the hiddenness. So what they mean by that is that Esther, she did not initiate her power. She positioned herself so that Hashem's guidance and providence would unfold, but she was in the background. She was like waiting. She was like waiting for things to unfold. She didn't activate anything right away. Esther, when she becomes queen, she hides her identity. And Esther megedet moladatana. She didn't reveal her origin. She didn't reveal her people. She's really there to teach us feminine leadership, which is not about impulsive revelation. It's about waiting, timing. And Esther also teaches us radical surrender. When she says, "V'kasher avadati avadati," if I am lost, I am lost. This is after she talks to Mordechai and decides to just go ahead and ask the king to save her people, and she just completely surrendered. The Netivot Shalom says that she did a total mesirut nefesh. In that moment, she surrendered herself completely to Hashem. And when she completely canceled herself out and just surrendered to whatever Hashem to be the vessel for Hashem's hashgacha, she became a vessel for redemption. So we see here from Esther, we learn radical surrender, and that surrender is a strength. That when we surrender to Hashem's planning and Hashem's timing, that's when we really reveal true redemption. I have so many discussion questions for you guys, but I'm just trying to be conscious of time. So we'll push through a little bit and then I'll ask you some questions at the end. So we see that Esther really comes forward late in the story, that her voice is pretty much silent throughout the Megillah. But when she finally does speak, she speaks with power, right? And we learn about her that she has very deep intuitive wisdom and she's very emotionally perceptive. And she's really leading with her heart versus her mind. And I want to connect the dots between another female leader that we have in the Torah, which is Miriam. Because you'll see there's a direct connection between Adar and Nisan. Adar is the last month, and Nisan is the first month. Adar is hidden miracles, Nisan is revealed miracles. Adar had a feminine heroine, which was a female heroine, which was Esther. And Nisan had Moshe, but it also has Miriam. So I want to compare and contrast Miriam and Esther a little bit because I really feel like there's a lot there that we can learn from both of them, even though they were very different. They both revealed inner Emunah. They were both able to reveal how redemption can come through Emunah and through joy. So we learn from the Ma'or Shemesh that a tzaddik is able to draw future light into present reality, right? Because we know about how the Jewish women brought out tambourines with Egypt because they trusted that the redemption will come. מובטחות היו צדקניות שבדור שהקדוש ברוך הוא עושה להם ניסים והוציאו טיפים. They knew that Hashem would bring miracles and that's why they brought the tambourines. כי האמינו בגאולה עתידה. They believed in the true redemption that would come. They had the inner certainty that Hashem would perform the miracles. And the Maor V'Shemesh says, Ikar HaGeula lo haya rak b'kriyat Yam Suf. The main redemption didn't just happen with the splitting of the sea, אלא בשירה שאמרו אחר כך, but by the song that they sang after. כי על ידי השירה העלו כל הניצוצות הקדושים שנפלו בקליפות מצרים. They raised all the sparks that were lost in Egypt. והשירה היא המתקת הדינים. And through song, they were able to sweeten judgments. שממשיכים רחמים רבים, that were able to draw down mercy על ידי קול וזמרה בקדושה, through song and singing in holiness. So we see here a direct parallel between what happened in the redemption in Egypt and the redemption of thank you, Regina, and the redemption of Adar. That you can, they're both about sweetening judgments. That it's all about how do you transform time of judgment into a time of compassion and rachamim. So here what we see is that through song, they were able to sweeten judgments because the melody was drawing down compassion. And through simcha, through joy, in Adar, you would do the same thing. Song and joy are interconnected. You can't sing unless you're happy. Right? You have to sing from your heart. And actually today was meant to be a song circle, which is such a big part of what we do when we come together, is sing, because singing draws down so much rachamim into the world, and it really sweetens judgments. Miriam, she was able to gather the women and to sing openly at the sea. That was like revealed Emunah. Esther operated more in concealment. Oh, nice. Esther hides her identity and Miriam reveals collective joy. Esther had hidden miracles and Miriam had revealed miracles. The Nesivot Shalom said, "B'schut nashim tzadkaniot nigalu Yisrael mitzrayim." In the merit of the Jewish women, the righteous Jewish women, we were redeemed from Mitzrayim. Ki emuntam lo hayta tluya b'gilui, because their emunah was not dependent on miracles. Ach betoch hachoshech haaminu begula, that they believed in the redemption while it was dark. They were able to see the light while there was darkness. They didn't wait to sing after. They already brought the instruments before because they already knew that they would be singing. They already saw the light while it was dark. Yesh emunah haba'a acharei riyah. There's emunah that comes after seeing the redemption. Veyesh emunah hakodemet leriyah. And then there's emunah that comes before seeing the redemption. The power of women is their ability to have emunah in the redemption and in the light before it becomes revealed. And it's through that emunah that we activate that redemption. That's the part that we play in creating that reality. Not waiting for it to happen, but causing it to happen and playing an active role in bringing it to reality through our emunah. Kol hageulot. This is from the Sfat Emet. Oh, Kaylee, did you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I guess two things that were coming up. I heard, I believe it was from Rebbetzin Tabak on this. She said like Megillat Esther, like just that word is like the revelation within the hiddenness. Like Megillah is revealed and Esther is hidden. And I'm like, wow, that just the name of the book is like has a whole message. And the other thing that was coming up for me is something I've been like practicing and trying to do, for myself is like, when things are feeling challenging or hard, like I could just like, kind of obsess about what's going wrong and, kind of get get stuck in like, what should I do? What could I do? Blah, blah, blah. But kind of been trying to be like, okay, like these things are happening. There's actually very little I can do about it. I kind of need to let go. And like, in the meantime, I can like choose to do things that I enjoy. Like I can sing, I can dance, I can do art, I can like listen to a sheer, I can, you know, connect with people. And kind of, I guess like that's relating for me to kind of what I'm hearing is like the like, I guess part of like the Emunah and the trust that like Hashem kind of has this covered and like I can just enjoy the ride and like that doesn't mean like sit back and do nothing about anything and be irresponsible, but it means that like when there's nothing I can do, like there actually is something I can do. I can take steps to like do things that bring me joy while I wait for the, you know, the plan to be revealed. And that like that demonstration of Emunah is like I don't need to like run on the hamster wheel to make this go faster because that's not going to help. I'm trusting like actually Hashem has this all covered and I can just like right sing and dance and be happy even when there's you know hardness and chaos going on. And like that's a demonstration I'm hearing like now it's like that is a demonstration of Emunah. Like that Emunah is part of what like the Shabbos is to bring the Gula is like that exact thing. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for letting me speak.
Very nice, Kaylee. Thank you so much for that. I really love that. Exactly. I think that's such a great way to really capture like so much of what we're talking about today is our active role in shifting the way things are in the world, that we all have a unique contribution to shifting the energy of the world as individuals and as a collective. And so much of our tradition teaches us about the power of the Jewish women, which is something that I love learning so much because we have so much history to demonstrate that we have power. You know, our power is in the way that we relate to ourselves, the way we relate to Hashem, the way we relate to others in our lives and our children, our parents, our siblings. Like we impact our world. And so much of that is impacts, you know, the world globally. And I think that what I'm learning so much from recently is just that you start out from the inner circle and then go outwards, you know, and that it does make a difference. And I think that that's what I wanted to share today is that it's not just about doing mitzvot because this is what we do when it's a holiday and this is what we do on our holiday, but to really plug into the consciousness of this month, which is that Emunah is a superpower that we have as women. And men have it too, but especially as moms and as women in the community, we all have this ability to see forward even when things are hard, to really have a vision and to use this vision to inspire the people around us to see light when there's darkness and to really sort of be pillars for that light through song, through joy, through happiness in whichever way we express that and we live that in our lives. And so I really want us to complete this spiritual year of Adar, which is like the last month of the year, to really reflect on how can we move from fear to trust? How can we move from uncertainty to clarity? How can we move from doubt to Emunah? To really embrace our active role in shifting everything in our lives from a place of connection to Hashem, and because the next month is going to be a clean slate. Nisan is the new year. It's the time for a clean slate. So this is, even though it's not Elul, it's not Rosh Hashanah, it is energetically us wrapping up the energy of the year. This is how Hashem set up the Jewish calendar. So it's a time of reflection and it's also a time of joy. And we're celebrating with so much power, but also consciousness to understand how do we want to move forward in the year ahead? What can we carry with us as lessons from our previous year and accomplishments and things that we want to celebrate? And what is it that we want for the year ahead? And in the way that we carry ourselves as Jewish women. Um, I just give us all a bracha that it should always be besimcha. And just like what Regina was saying earlier, that, to embrace all of our feelings and to really feel whole in the full spectrum of experience. And even though we're supposed to be besimcha, to also embrace all this other feelings, the million and one other things that we feel, but also always to center ourselves back to be besimcha and to be grateful for our relationship with Hashem and all the gifts that Hashem gives us on a daily basis. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the class, and I look forward to learning with you again and singing with you again, please God, for Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Be well.